Before we start the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Marina woke up in some strange, unfamiliar place. The semi-dark room was covered in red velvet. In the middle there was a huge bed with an ornate headboard. Something sweet and luscious smelled. Her head ached, her mouth was terribly dry, and she was thirsty. She was wearing a cocktail dress and torn pantyhose, her purse and shoes nowhere to be seen. The girl began to strain to remember. Here she had once again quarreled with her father, the well-known businessman Romanov. He berated her for her wild lifestyle and nightclubs, for skipping the Economics Institute. She gets ready, goes out the back door, tricking the guards assigned to her by her father, and goes with her friend Lenka to a new, trendy club for a party. Two muscular, handsome fellows join them. They order cocktails and offer to freshen up after the disco. At this point, all the memories came crashing down, all the darkness. In the room came a large, vulgarly dressed lady in a lace negligee, and with a smirk asked, "Are you awake at last, my little dove? I think our boys went a little overboard with the anesthesia. Where am I? Who are you?" Marina was at a loss. "You're in a whorehouse, baby, they sold you here. This is your home now. I'm Marina, both your father and mother, okay? Go clean up and get ready, get to know the girls. If you behave well, so that the client will be satisfied, I will not offend. If you don't, you'll be punished, you'll have to serve everyone for free. Got it? Are you crazy? Do you even know who my father is? He's the most famous businessman in Serpukhov. You're dead, they'll bury you all. Boiling girl." Irina silently came up, and with a swing hit her head on the swing and hissed, "What, Serpukhov? We're in Moscow, and we have a roof ho, your daddy, and did not dream. We've got your papers. So you'd better not poke your head in the sand or you'll regret it, and we've pacified more than this. And now 2 hours to get ready and be in the common room," she threatened. Marina was shaking, she panicked terribly and scolded herself with the last words. "What a fool, idiot. Told my father not to go alone, without security, to nightclubs. What to do now? How do I get out of here? No money, no passport, no phone." The mere thought that she would be, like a thing, put under strangers' strange men, caused horror and disgust. She was just pretending to be a cool and liberated girl, knowing that no one would touch her, and that many people were afraid of her father. She didn't really have a boyfriend, and here she was. The girls made her more afraid by telling her what was waiting for her. On her unsteady legs, dressed in gorgeous lingerie and high heels, she walked into the hall and joined the other girls in a line. In the chair sat a disgusting fat man with shortness of breath, lazily poked at her. "This one I want, she looks fresh." The man took her by the hand and led her into the very room where she woke up, pushed her onto the bed. Marina begged in terror, "Don't, please. I am not here of my own free will. I was stolen, help me," she babbled. But he kept piling his heavy body on top of her and grumbled grudgingly, "You all have the same record to begin with. Come on. Do not be stubborn, be smart, please your uncle." Not remembering herself, the girl reached for the heavy bronze statuette on the nightstand, and with a full swing hit the fat man. He wheezed and collapsed. "Jesus. I must have killed him. Now I'm going to jail. We've got to run." She panicked frantically. Marina went through his pockets, took some money from his wallet, and as she was, in her negligee and barefoot, jumped out the window. It was the first floor, for God's sake. Where to run in a strange city? To the train station, of course. She asked for directions from passers-by, who stared at her in amazement. One does not often see such things at midnight. The girl ran like the wind. The station was only 2 blocks away and exulted, "That's it. I've made it. Freedom." Without even noticing the chase behind her, there was nothing left. There they were, the lights on the platforms, and there were people, police. Someone would help. I would ask for the phone. I would call my father. He would sort everything out, the girl hoped. Suddenly she was called from behind. "How far are you going, beautiful?" 2 guards from the brothel smirked, grabbed her, and began to drag her back by force. She scratched and bit, and tried to break free from the scoundrel's clinging hands. Then one of the guards grew furious and slammed his fist into the back of her head, and the girl collapsed and immediately lost consciousness. But even that was not enough. The villain dragged Marina to the edge of the road and squeamishly threw her into a ditch. The villains were not worried about being found. They knew the girl had no documents, who needed her. The next morning, a young boy, Semyon, was sweeping the territory of the railway station. Suddenly, moans were heard from far away. The young man dropped his broom and went down into the ditch. What he saw shocked the janitor. There was a half-naked girl lying in a pile of broken glass and bottles, with a horrible cut on her face. The guy in a panic tried to dial the number of the ambulance. His fingers did not obey. "Dida girl, I'll call you an ambulance. Be patient." The guy stuttered even more from excitement. Marina finally came to her senses in the hospital. Her face and head were covered in bandages. Her whole body was sore. It was no use interrogating her by the police or psychologists. She remembered nothing but her name. They said it was a consequence of the trauma and the shock. In time her memory might come back. But that wasn't even the worst part. When the stitches were removed and she looked in the mirror, she had a wild tantrum. There was a horrible, ugly scar across her cheek. Her hair had been cut off when they stitched up her head wound, and now she looked like some ugly monster from a horror movie. The girl became depressed and lay all day long, turning her back to the wall. The only person who visited her was Semyon. He used to come every other day, bring her a present he had bought on her last pittance, and sit quietly beside her sighing. For some reason this stranger had struck a chord with him. He could not just abandon a man in need. Since childhood he knew what it was to be an outcast. Semyon's mother raised him on her own, worked as a janitor, and all his life they lived in a room allocated by the housing authorities. The boy stuttered since childhood, lived poorly, barely had enough money for bread. When he was 15, his mother became completely ill, and he began to sweep the yards instead of her. And that's how he lived. Senya was teased at school as a beggar and a stutterer, so he grew up withdrawn and unsociable. He read books all the time. He studied well, but what's the use? There's no money anyway. One day they told him at the hospital, "We cannot keep her here anymore. Physically the patient is healthy, but the memory is an unpredictable thing. Nobody knows when she will return." "Will you take her away?" the doctor asked sternly. And the boy, not expecting himself, answered, "Yes." He went into the room, began to confusedly, stammering. To explain it to Marina, he asked, "Will you come and live with me? I'll talk my mother into it." The girl became hysterical. "Why do you need me?" "A beautiful couple, a stutterer and an ugly girl. I don't want to live. I'd rather perish in that ditch," and she sobbed. The boy sighed and resentfully prepared to leave. "I am from the bottom of my heart and she." He sulked. Marina wiped away her tears and shouted, "Sen, wait, excuse me, I agree." Realizing she had nowhere else to go, when Semyon took her to his room, she was horrified. It was dark, stuffy, and dusty. An elderly, haggard woman lay in bed. The boy introduced them. "I'm sorry, I don't have time to clean up. I have to sweep the yards in the morning, and then I have to take care of my mother." "Don't worry, I'll put you on my couch and I'll lie down on the cot in the corridor. Make yourself comfortable." Senya's mother, Valentina, only shook her head. "Oh, Senya, who do I think you are? We can hardly make ends meet, and you bring another poor soul. How are we going to live?" "Mom, you're the one who taught me when I was a kid that you can't pass by other people's grief. You have to help." What was I supposed to do? Leave her in a ditch or in the hospital? She does not remember anything. Then Marina intervened. "I won't stay long, until her memory comes back. I will not sit on my neck, I understand everything. Tomorrow I'll go look for a job, if they take such a freak." With great difficulty Marina managed to get a nurse in the hospital where she lay, and then, out of pity, took more. It was hard, infernal work wore out completely, and everyone around looked either with mockery or with obvious disgust. I wanted to howl and cry. The only close and kindred soul who understood and supported her was Semyon. It became close, talking a lot, in front of her. He barely even stuttered. Marina cleaned the room, washed the windows, washed the dusty gray curtains, and everything sparkled and shone. The girl had also mastered cooking. Her mother would give her tips on how to do it. Valentina had been seriously ill for a long time and almost never got up, so she felt sorry for Marina, did not hurt her, did not reproach her in any way. She understood that the girl is in some kind of terrible trouble, even rejoiced that her son finally at least someone close, flying on the wings. So what if he had a scar? He was a good man, and appearances were not the main thing, the woman thought to herself. A year went by like that. The neighbors openly mocked the family and often poked fun at them. Just look at these weirdos. The stutterer himself, his mother is disabled, and yet he brought this Quasimodo. What a horror film, just like a family. Semyon, on the contrary, did not pay attention to the crooked smirks, and proudly walked down the street with Marina, holding her hand or kissing her on the cheek. He did not notice the mutilation at all, and could not look at his Marinachka, for she was the first person to whom he opened his heart and soul. One day the girl was on a shift. They brought a heavy patient, an elderly man, a heart attack. His condition was grave. When she looked at him, something incredible happened to her. She felt warm inside, and some fragmentary memories of childhood began to flood over her. Warm, caressing sea, she is eating a huge ice cream, and some man nearby is feeding seagulls, and she is so cheerful, happy, and well. Or here, someone's voice scolds her. Well, how are you not ashamed? You're smart, beautiful, and you behave like a street girl. What is wrong with me? These scraps both pleased and frightened at the same time. She shared her worries with Senya, who suggested, I think you knew this man well in a past life, but you can't yet remember who he is to you. That's okay, when he comes to his senses, maybe he'll recognize you. The girl carefully and gently nursed this elderly, stately, and obviously not poor man, looked at the name in the registry. Romanov. She had heard it somewhere before, and more than once. There were 2 guards on duty near the entrance to the intensive care unit. Apparently an important person. The girl was exhausted with curiosity. Finally, the patient was transferred to a regular room from the intensive care unit. His condition has stabilized. As she was cleaning the room and out of habit flicked back her bangs with a wave of her head, the man looked at her intently and suddenly asked, Girl, what is your name? Marina, she answered. Marina? Come a little closer, please. My God, it cannot be. Where did you get this terrible mutilation? It's hard to know, of course, just like that. But the eyes, it's the same eyes, it's my mother's hair, the man muttered incoherently. I've lost my memory, I don't remember anything about myself. But when I look at you, something happens in my soul. I have the feeling that you are very close to me. Do I know you? Do you have a birthmark on your leg, above the knee, in the shape of a drop? He almost shouted, Yes, I do. So who are you? The girl asked anxiously. The man burst into tears, hugged Marina. Daughter, Marisha. Musa Marusha, I called you so as a child. I'm your father. God, thank you. I was beginning to lose hope that I'd find you alive. I've been fighting for a year, I've got all the connections and nothing. Finally, I got a lead, found out the identity of the kidnappers. I came to punish the bastard, but I got sick. I got very nervous. That's all right, when I get better, they'll be in trouble. I'll put them all behind bars. Marina sat down on a stool and squeezed her eyes. Memories rushed over her. One replaced the other. She remembered everything, her happy, cloudless childhood, her parents, her dead mother, the nightclub, the brothel. She clung to her father and whispered, I remembered, Daddy, I remembered everything. Forgive me, you damned fool. You told me 100 times to be more careful, and now I am ugly and ugly for the rest of my life, and I cannot change anything. I'm so glad you're with me now. Hush, hush, darling, everything can be fixed. I'll send you to Germany, to the best plastic surgery clinic. They do miracles there. I'll just get over it. You're not going anywhere near me now. I'll make the arrangements. That'll take you home. Tasia, our housekeeper, will be happy. She's been nursing you since you were a baby. She cried her eyes out when you disappeared. My father rejoiced. And your dog, Lialka, she never ate or drank anything and still won't let anyone hold her. What a joy. Daddy, wait. I cannot leave like this. People who rescued me, sheltered me, even though they themselves sometimes did not have a piece of bread. They didn't reproach me for anything. Senya and I love each other, and even though he stutters a little, he's a great guy. And Mama Valia is a very nice guy. She is very ill, and they need help. If he had not called an ambulance, I would have died for sure. My daughter gibbered, Don't worry about anything, I'll arrange everything. I'll bow down to these people myself, for your salvation. I will spare nothing for them. Her father reassured her. Marina was sent to Germany. She had 3 surgeries, and 6 months later she was back to the same beautiful, cheerful, and happy person. Her hair had long since grown back into a gorgeous, well-groomed mane. The girl took up her mind, reinstated herself in the institute, and studied diligently. Running away to have fun was out of the question. She was now simply not interested. Semyon underwent treatment for stuttering, and thanks to modern techniques, got rid of his ailment. It turned out that his stuttering was purely nervous, due to mockery and lack of self-confidence. His mother, Valentina, was placed in an excellent private boarding house for long-term rehabilitation. Now mother and son were no longer huddled in a cramped quarters, but lived in a cozy apartment not far from Marina's house. Senya took a programming course and got a job at a firm. He had been a bright boy since childhood. When the couple, beautiful, fashionably dressed and happy, showed up at the former house where Senya lived to sort out all the paperwork, the neighbors gasped, "That's a Quasimodo for you. What a beauty she's become. I don't even recognize Senka, he's flying like an eagle, and he doesn't stutter at all. And they've taken Valia for treatment, they're treating her like a queen. Some people are lucky." The housewives were talking. Marina, as a farewell, decided to go to the hospital, brought a huge cake, champagne, and delicacies, laid the table, called the head of the department and all the staff. The girl, raising the glass, said, "I sincerely thank you all for the treatment," then gave a job, not turned away in difficult times. "After all, misfortune can happen to anyone. Thank you, even to those who mocked me. You made me stronger and helped me to stand against everything." Some congratulated from the heart, genuinely happy and wishing happiness, while others averted their eyes, realizing that it was about them. Marina decided to thank Semyon for all the good that he had done for her, and to give him something amazing, to show him a special place that only she knew about. "Sen, when I was on the verge of life and death, you did not turn away, did not pass by, you helped, fought for me to the end, protected me from attacks and evil people, divided in half a piece of bread and a bowl of soup. I appreciate it, and I am madly grateful to you. Now I want to surprise you and show you something beautifully unforgettable. Meet me at 9 o'clock in the evening," and she winked at him conspiratorially. At the appointed time, she took him to the roof of the largest skyscraper in Moscow. Here opened an amazing, unforgettable view of the capital, with billions of lights. It was striking in its power and beauty. Senya was delighted. He had never seen such beauty in his life. He was afraid to breathe. Marina arranged everything. His father helped. There were 2 chairs and a table full of wine and fruit. The couple admired the stunning view until morning, kissed, and dreamed of a future, a family, children. They decided to marry, because they could not imagine life without each other. After all this, the girl internally changed. She became more serious and responsible. Now she valued her life and the lives of people close to her, for she knew that every second should be valued. At any moment everything can change. The scoundrels were punished, and the girls were released from the brothel. Valentina gradually recovered, the effective treatment bore fruit, and she began to walk a little. Often the 4 of them would go out on holiday. Her father and son-in-law would cook a wonderful pilaf on the fire, and Marina and Valentina would talk about their women's business. Marina's father really liked Semyon for his responsibility and seriousness. The man was sure that his daughter would always be with him like a stone wall, and this is the most important thing in a family, for a woman to feel protected, to be taken care of. Love is only empty words, but actions decide everything. What's left to do now? Give birth to grandchildren? I think that will happen soon.